The town of Marlow Creek didn't often make the news. And the locals liked it that way. Tucked just shy of the pine-thick hills that edged the forest preserve. The town moved at its own pace, slow, quiet, and wrapped in routine. Emma Keller's Café sat at the heart of it. Keller's, a squat, weathered building with peeling green trim and foggy windows, had once been her grandfather's fishing supply shop. She'd gutted it, repurposed it, and filled it with dark roast, second-hand books, and sourdough bagels. Now it was the town's pulse. People joked that the mayor could disappear for a week and no one would care. Just don't let Keller's close. Emma arrived before dawn every day. Keys in hand, scarf tucked against her neck, steam rising from her breath in the mountain cold. She knew the creaks of the floorboards, the hiss of the espresso machine as it warmed. On this particular morning, a Tuesday, if she remembered right, she paused just as she reached the front steps. The ground was damp with last night's rain. Mist still clung low, and through the gray light, something caught her eye. Tracks. She frowned. Not dog prints. Bigger. 4 toes. No claws. The prints looked soft but deep, fresh in the mud just outside the front door. She crouched, inspecting them. Not raccoon, not bear, and definitely not the neighbor's Labrador. Something wild. A low chill prickled her spine. She glanced toward the tree line in the distance. Still, silent. Shrugging it off, Emma keyed the door, flipped the sign, and started her day. By 7:30 a.m., the cafe buzzed. Locals filtered in. Benny the mailman, Jen from the town council, old Mr. Hargrove who drank black coffee and muttered about the Cold War. Emma worked the counter, pouring drip, wiping down tables, nodding along to the latest small-town gossip. Then Frank Dorsey shuffled in. Cap askew, boots muddy. "You hear about the animal sighting?" he said before he'd even ordered. Emma glanced up. "What animal?" Frank leaned in. "Cougar, maybe. Something big. Couple of the high school boys saw it behind the football field last night. Someone nearby overheard. Could have been a coyote." "No way," Frank grunted. "They said it was huge. Golden. Real quiet." Emma thought about the paw prints. "You sure it wasn't a stray dog?" "Dog don't move like that," Frank said. "And dogs don't have eyes like this one," they said, like it was watching. Smart. The buzz around the cafe shifted subtly. Whispers passed from table to table. Kids stayed closer to their parents. Even Benny paused mid-coffee to stare out the window toward the woods. By evening, most folks had gone home early. Emma stayed late, mopping the floor, restocking tea jars. It was close to 6 when she finally locked up, tugging her coat tighter as the temperature dropped. She paused on the porch. That strange feeling again. The sense of being watched. The wind was light, the woods dark and quiet. Then she saw it, a shape at the edge of the trees. At first, she thought her eyes were playing tricks. But no, the shape moved, slow, purposeful, silent, out from the tree line. Barely 20 feet away, stepped a lioness. Emma froze. Not a cougar, not a bobcat, a lion. Golden coat muted in the twilight. shoulders low, ribs faintly visible. She walked with a limp, front paw gingerly raised now and then. Her head turned toward the cafe. Toward Emma. They locked eyes. For a moment, the world stopped. The lioness didn't growl, didn't advance. She just stood there, watching. There was intelligence in that gaze, tired. Maybe, but sharp. Emma's heart pounded. She didn't run. Somehow, she knew not to. The lioness tilted her head slightly, blinked, then turned. In 3 steps, she vanished back into the trees, the brush barely stirring behind her. Emma stood rooted to the spot, breath held. Only when the woods went still again did she exhale. By Wednesday morning, word had spread like spilled coffee across town. Emma came in early again, nervous now, heart quietly thudding as she unlocked the cafe door. The mist was thinner, the sunrise warmer, but her eyes scanned the tree line before her hand even touched the doorknob. And there she was, the lioness, sitting calmly near the outdoor seating area, as if waiting for a cup of coffee. Still, watching, not quite regal. She looked too thin for that, but proud. Alert. The wound on her paw was more visible now. Streaks of dried blood matted against golden fur. Her breathing was steady but shallow. Something about her posture was different this morning. Not threatening. Not fearful. More like she was enduring. Emma didn't move at first. She stood near the doorway, just watching. "Hey," she said softly, not expecting a reaction. "You came back." The lioness blinked slowly. Her ears twitched at the sound of Emma's voice. But she didn't get up or flinch. Emma knelt down slowly and placed a metal bowl of water at the edge of the porch. She didn't dare get too close, but left it within reach. The lioness didn't move toward it. Not yet. Just sat in the cold. Eyes tired but still sharp. Minutes passed. Then, finally, the lioness shifted and limped forward. Each step looked like agony. She paused at the edge of the porch, dropped her head, and began to drink. Emma exhaled slowly. "You're hurt." The lioness finished, turned, and limped away without a sound, disappearing into the trees once more. By the time the first customers arrived, Emma had wiped the bowl clean and tucked it behind the counter. She didn't want to lie, but she wasn't ready to talk either. Too late. "Was it here again?" Benny asked before his coffee hit the table. Emma said without thinking. "She was." "Jesus," said Jen, eyes wide. "You saw it again? In town?" "She wasn't doing anything, just sitting there." "Emma, it's a lion. A lion. I know what I saw." Word traveled. That afternoon, Deputy Harris came by. Not for coffee. He was a tall man with a shaved head and the kind of stiff posture that made his utility belt look like it was part of his body. He didn't even sit down. "I need to talk to you," he said, glancing at the porch, then back at Emma. She nodded, drying her hands on a towel. "About the lioness. So you admit she's been here?" "She hasn't hurt anyone yet," Harris said. "Emma, I've got people calling my office non-stop. Parents are scared. Old folks too. A wild animal, wounded and unpredictable, hanging around town. You think that's safe? She's not aggressive. She's a lion." I can't just let her stroll into town like a lost dog." Emma met his gaze. "She's hurt. You can see it. She's limping, bleeding. That makes her more dangerous. Not less. She hasn't approached anyone. She doesn't growl, doesn't stalk. She just watches." "Emma, with all due respect, this is above your pay grade." She crossed her arms. "Then make it part of yours to not make a dumb call." Harris raised an eyebrow. "Animal control's already on alert. One more sighting near a person, and they'll trap her. You understand what that means?" Emma swallowed hard. "Just give me a few days. Please, let me try something." "What exactly do you plan to do? You're not a vet." "No, but I'm here. She keeps coming to me. That means something." Harris sighed and scratched his head. "I'll give you 2 days. But if someone so much as sees her near a kid, she won't hurt anyone," Emma said. "I hope you're right." The next morning, the Lioness returned just before dawn. Emma was ready. She'd laid out a raw chicken breast, organic, the good stuff, and another bowl of water. The meat sat just outside the patio fencing, within view of the tree line. The Lioness limped out of the woods like a shadow unfurling. She paused when she saw the food. Her nostrils flared, head low, body cautious but hungry. Emma watched from inside, heart tight in her chest. The Lioness crept forward, each step deliberate, painful. When she reached the food, she didn't gobble it down. She sniffed, tested it, then gently began to eat, keeping her injured paw lifted. Emma couldn't help but whisper, even though she knew the Lioness couldn't hear her, "You're not just surviving, you're trusting me." After eating, the Lioness turned toward the cafe windows again. She stood there for a moment, breathing hard, then returned to the woods like a ghost. That day, Emma kept a notepad by the counter, scribbling notes between orders, times, behavior, condition. She Googled everything she could about lion injuries, diet, behavior in captivity, how to sedate large animals without harming them. Her internet history looked like a zoo handler's crash course. Frank came in later than usual. He ordered black coffee and eyed her warily. "She's still coming?" Emma nodded. "She's worse. That leg's not healing." "You think she's from a zoo?" "Maybe. Or a private owner. But she doesn't have a tag or collar. No chip. From what I can tell. She's been on her own for a while." "Why here?" Emma didn't answer right away. Then, "Because we're quiet. And maybe because I didn't run." Friday came. So did the Lioness. That morning, her limping was worse. She collapsed beside the porch and didn't move for 10 minutes. Emma stood by the window, hands clenched, unsure what to do. The wound on the paw was now visibly swollen, and the fur around it was stained with old blood. She called Harris. "I need help." "Not a gun. A vet." He hesitated. "You sure?" "Yes. She's not going to make it on her own. But she wants help." "I know it." Harris didn't argue. "You've got till tomorrow. I'll put in a call to Dr. Reyes in Silver Ridge. She's got tranquilizer gear for big cats. You better be damn sure about this." "Emma." "I am." That night, Emma didn't sleep. She paced, watched the tree line through her bedroom window, as if the Lioness might somehow disappear forever before help could come. But at dawn, she was there again, lying in the same place. Waiting. Emma crouched on the porch. "You held on," she whispered. "We're gonna fix that leg. Just hang on a little longer." Behind her, down the road, she heard the faint hum of an approaching truck. The sun had barely touched the tops of the pine trees when Emma stepped onto the café porch. Bowl in one hand, raw chicken wrapped in paper in the other. Her breath misted in the morning air. She moved slower now, more deliberately. Nala was always near. She didn't know exactly when she'd started calling the Lioness that. It had just slipped out one morning when she whispered to her across the gravel. Nala, a name with softness in it. Strength, too. It felt right. The Lioness had seemed to respond. Or maybe Emma just needed to believe she had. Each day, she placed the food and water a little closer to the porch. Nala had begun approaching sooner. Limping but determined, no longer waiting at the edge of the woods. Her ribs still showed, and the wound on her paw still bled in dark patches. But she moved with intention and trust. Emma didn't speak much during those moments. She watched, breathed slowly, sometimes whispered encouragement like a prayer. She didn't want to spook her. She didn't want the spell to break. But on this morning, something was wrong. The bowl was untouched. Nala wasn't waiting near the table where she usually sat. Emma scanned the tree line, anxiety climbing into her throat like a vine. Then she spotted her, just a few feet off the porch. Lying in the dirt. She wasn't sitting upright. She wasn't watching. She was collapsed, her side rising and falling in labored breaths. Emma dropped the bowl. "Nala," she said softly, stepping forward. The Lioness twitched at the sound of her voice, but didn't lift her head. One paw, the injured one, was swollen grotesquely now, almost double in size, dark with dried blood and streaked with pus. Her eyes fluttered open, then closed again, like each breath was a weight. Emma crouched, pulse roaring in her ears. She knew this was different. This wasn't just pain anymore. This was a threshold. Footsteps crunched behind her. She turned, half expecting Deputy Harris. It was Theo. Old Man Theo wasn't really anyone's grandfather, but everyone in Marlow Creek treated him like he was. He'd worked as a park ranger once, long ago, before Emma was born, and people still swore he could track anything from a broken branch and a gut feeling. He was rarely seen in town, and almost never this early. He carried a faded canvas bag and a long walking stick. His eyes were clear as water. "I saw her," he said, "last night, lying here. I figured you'd be out this morning." Emma didn't ask how he knew. She just nodded, kneeling beside him. "She's not getting better," Emma said. Theo looked at Nala, studying her breathing, her posture, the way she barely moved. "She's waiting." "For what?" "For you," he said quietly. "This ain't wild panic. It's not desperation. She came here for something. And now she's telling you it's time." Emma swallowed. "Time for what?" "To do what you've been trying not to do." Theo handed her the canvas bag. She unzipped it. A basic field vet kit. Bandages, syringes, saline, antibiotics, tranquilizer doses. Already prepared. Tools. Tools for something delicate and dangerous. She'll let you, Theo said. If you go slow. If you mean it. I'm not a vet. You don't need to be, he said. You just need to be steady. And kind. Emma's hands trembled slightly as she gripped the bag. Nala let out a low, guttural sound. Not a growl. More like a moan, the sound of pain too deep to hide. Can you stay? Emma asked Theo. He shook his head. This is between you and her. I'll be close. But not here. She knows you, not me. Emma nodded, her chest tightening. Okay. Theo walked off toward the edge of the woods without another word. Emma sat for a long moment. Just sat. Let her breathing slow. Let her heartbeat settle. Then she unwrapped a piece of chicken, placed it on a tin tray, and scooted forward inch by inch. Nala, she whispered. It's okay. I'm right here. The lioness opened one eye. Emma stopped moving. Good girl. You're okay. She placed the food 2 feet from Nala's head. The lioness didn't eat, but she didn't pull away either. Emma opened the kit, took out the small syringe. A low-dose sedative. Enough to dull the pain. Enough to ease fear. She filled it carefully, hands steady now. You came here for help, she said softly, and I'm going to try. Crawling on her knees, she moved slowly, deliberately. The morning air was thick with tension. No birds sang. The world held its breath. When she reached Nala's side, she paused again. Nala turned her head slightly. Didn't move away. Emma reached out with one hand, palm up, letting it hover a foot away from the lioness's flank. Minutes passed. Then, slowly, she touched her. Warm fur, coarse and damp. Nala didn't flinch. I'm sorry, Emma whispered. She slipped the needle into the muscle of her good leg and pressed gently. Nala twitched once, then stilled. Emma waited. 10 minutes, then 15. When Nala's breathing slowed and her eyes drooped shut, Emma got to work. The wound was worse than she'd thought. Infected. Something had punctured deep. Probably a metal shard. Or a rusted wire. She cleaned it with trembling precision. Disinfected it. Flushed the swollen area with saline. Nala whimpered once in her sleep, but didn't wake. Emma worked until her knees went numb and her fingers cramped. She wrapped the paw tightly in gauze and tucked the leg close to Nala's body. Tears prickling her eyes. You're so strong, she whispered. Theo reappeared as Emma was closing the kit. She let you? Emma nodded, her voice barely audible. She let me. That night, the café stayed closed. Emma didn't put out any signs or send a message. She just sat outside near the steps, a blanket over her shoulders, watching Nala sleep. She woke every hour to check on her, to change the gauze, to whisper small comforts in the dark. By morning, Nala was still sleeping, but the swelling had gone down. And when Emma whispered her name, Nala opened her eyes. Slow, heavy-lidded, but alert. Emma smiled through exhausted tears. Hi again. Nala blinked once, then closed her eyes. Not in pain, just resting. Morning broke clear and gold. The first sunlight in days. Emma hadn't slept much. Her body ached from crouching beside Nala all night. Her hands still faintly stained with antiseptic. But the swelling in the lioness's paw had eased, and her breathing was steadier now. Theo returned just after dawn, 2 mugs of black coffee in hand. "She made it through," he said, handing Emma a cup. "She's not out of it yet," Emma replied. "But she's better." Theo knelt beside the lioness, who was awake but still lying down, her head raised slightly, ears relaxed. He studied the paw wrapped in gauze. "I've been thinking," he said, "infection that deep doesn't come from a scratch. Must be something inside, something lodged." Emma nodded. "I had the same thought. Only one way to find out." Emma sighed, set down her mug, and reached for the medical kit. "Let's try this time." Nala didn't flinch as Emma unwrapped the bandage. Her paw was inflamed but no longer seeping. As Emma leaned closer, a shadow caught her attention, something dark beneath the surface of swollen skin. "There," she said, pointing. "Something's in there, deep." Theo leaned over. "That's no twig. That's a thorn, a big one." He handed Emma the forceps. "You sure you're steady?" Emma didn't answer. She simply exhaled and got to work. She spoke as she moved, voice low and calm. "It's okay, Nala. We've come this far. I just need you to trust me a little longer." Theo crouched opposite, speaking gently too. "Easy, girl. You're safe here." The café sat in eerie silence behind them. The usual morning crowd hadn't cleared out, not today. Word had spread. By 7:30, a small group stood across the road near the general store, murmuring, watching. Benny, Jen, even old Mr. Hargrove. They said nothing, just stared as Emma knelt beside the wild lioness, digging into her paw like it was the most natural thing in the world. Nala didn't growl, didn't twitch. Her eyes were open, focused on Emma. "Then, there," Emma whispered. The forceps caught something hard. She pulled gently. A long, black thorn, curved at the end, as thick as a pencil lead, slid free from the wound, trailing a thin ribbon of blood. Emma held it up for Theo to see. "God," he breathed. "No wonder." She set the thorn aside, cleaned the wound again, and wrapped the paw. This time tighter, neater. Nala didn't move. When she finished, Emma placed her hand gently on the lioness's shoulder. Warm, solid. And then, something astonishing happened. Nala turned her head and licked Emma's hand. One slow, deliberate gesture, a moment of complete trust. The crowd gasped audibly across the street. Emma didn't react. She was too still, too overcome. Nala stood slowly, favoring the paw but steadier now. She stepped back, turned toward the woods, then looked over her shoulder one last time. That was when Deputy Harris arrived. He pulled up in his cruiser, stepped out fast, hand already near his holster, until he saw. Everyone did. A lioness, calm, unchained, retreating into the forest. Behind her, Emma knelt in the dirt, hands stained, chest heaving, eyes wide. Harris lowered his hand. "Jesus Christ," he said softly. Theo walked over. "She's not a threat." Harris didn't speak for a long time. He just watched the trees. Then he turned to Emma. "You removed it?" Emma nodded. "A thorn. Deep. Probably weeks old. She could have killed you. She didn't. He looked past her at the crowd. At the silence settling over the town. I was ready to call the state. He admitted. But I think maybe this town needed to see this. Emma stood slowly, wiping her hands on her jeans. She just needed help, she said. That's all. Deputy Harris stared after the path where Nala had vanished. And what now? He asked. Emma didn't answer right away. She looked toward the forest. I think she'll come back. Or maybe she won't, but I don't think she was ever lost. Harris nodded, almost reluctantly. No paperwork, no reports. Theo clapped him on the shoulder. Good man. That afternoon, Keller's Café stayed open, but no one talked much about the Lioness. They just looked at Emma a little differently, like someone who had touched something raw and wild and come back whole. Someone who'd listened when others feared. Someone who'd pulled a thorn no one else could see. The last time Emma saw Nala was the morning the thorn came out. After that, the forest held its silence. She still came early each day, opening the café in the blue light before sunrise. She still set out a bowl of water, just in case. But the Lioness never returned. Not to the porch. Not to the edge of the woods. Not in the waking world. But the prince remained. For weeks, Emma found him at the boundary between wild and town. Just a few at a time. Deep, clean impressions in the mud or dust. Always leading away, never toward. Not a sign of pain. No limp, no stagger, just the confident steps of something whole again. Emma never tried to follow them. She never ventured into the woods to look. That hadn't been their agreement. Instead, she honored the silence. She accepted the absence. Nala had come. Nala had asked. Nala had trusted. That was enough. It was Theo who first suggested the statue. She's part of this place now, he said, weeks after the last sighting. More than any of us. Emma nodded. She saved something in me too. They chose the quietest corner of the café patio, the one that caught the morning light and faced the forest. Theo carved it himself. Rough wood. Hand-shaped, life-sized, a lioness mid-step, head turned slightly, as though she'd just looked back one final time. It wasn't polished or perfect, but it felt like her, sturdy, silent, proud. Emma burned the words into the plaque herself. Just below the statue's feet. Trust is not given, it is earned. Even by a lioness. They called it Nala's spot. Locals began leaving small tokens, dried flowers, hand-drawn sketches, sometimes bits of meat wrapped in wax paper. No one told him to. No one asked him to stop. Children sat beneath the statue and whispered secrets into Nala's wooden ear. Tourists posed beside her and tagged the café on their social feeds. One video, a shaky phone clip of the actual thorn removal day, taken from across the street, found its way online. Then everything changed. The story went viral. The Lioness of Marlow Creek. She trusted a human, and it saved her life. Wild grace, quiet courage. The bond between a barista and a lion. News crews showed up, wildlife conservationists, school field trips. People came from 4 states over to see the statue. sip Emma's coffee, and sit where the lioness had once rested. Bloggers wrote essays. Animal sanctuaries sent letters. A major wildlife photographer offered to do a book. Emma turned most of it down. She didn't want to package Nala into a headline or hashtag. She served coffee. She told the story only when it felt right. Sometimes, she just nodded toward the forest and said. She asked for help. That's all. But the café changed. People came not just for the bagels, or the books, or the morning quiet, but to remember that wild things could trust. That pain could be healed. That kindness mattered. And that sometimes, the line between human and animal wasn't fear. It was a choice. Autumn came early that year. Leaves crisped in gold and orange. The air thinned, tourists slowed, and the regulars returned to their usual rhythms. Life in Marlow Creek, as it always did, found its way back to calm. Emma still rose before the sun. She still opened the café in the dark. Still placed a bowl of water near the edge of the patio. Habit now. Ritual, not expectation. One morning, the fog was especially thick, low and pale and clinging to the earth-like breath. Emma sipped her coffee on the steps, arms tucked around her knees. She didn't notice them at first. Then she stood there, clear in the soft earth between the café and the woods, paw prints. Not old ones. Fresh, crisp, light, smaller than before. Too small to be Nala. Emma crouched. Her heart fluttered. Not fear. Not hope. Just wonder. She touched one print gently. The soil was still damp with dew. Then she smiled. Did Nala return? Or was this something new? Maybe a whisper of what came after. Maybe a promise that trust passed on. She stood, heart calm, gaze on the trees. And somewhere in the fog beyond the fence line, something watched her back, quiet, golden, gone. Inside the café, beneath the lioness statue, the morning sun caught the words etched into the plaque. Tourists hadn't arrived yet. The coffee machine hissed in the silence. And the forest held its breath again. Not in fear. In memory. In trust. In legacy.
Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please comment 1. And if you didn't, just hit like. See you in the next videos.